Hey everybody, Adam Davidson, RadCast for Wednesday, January 3rd, 2023. On Sunday, I preached at Central Wesleyan Church where I'm on the teaching team, and I talked about this verse right here. And we all who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord who is the Spirit. Now here's the thing, whenever most pastors prep a message, there's always more that goes into it, and then we can only share that much of it and try to edit it down. And then, of course, on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday following, you keep having these ideas. At least I do. They keep knocking around in my head. So I follow the rabbit trails. And it's a little early for me to say this is for sure what I'm going to do all year. But at least for right now, I'm really focusing on that contemplation part, just contemplating the Lord's glory. Now, what does that mean? Just to concentrate on him and to give him my full attention, all of my thoughts, and to truly sit and be with my thoughts, which is fun for a few seconds, but it gets kind of lonely or boring. I need external stimulation, like, some music playing or some YouTube or something like that. And yet we're just called to simply contemplate the Lord's glory, to think about his goodness, his holiness, his mercy, all these things. So here's the rabbit trail that the Lord took me down today. First, in Habakkuk 2:20, the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him. The idea here being that God is distant and in a holy place, and that you and I have no business being in his presence, let alone even speaking. That's why Habakkuk says, everybody just shut up. Don't talk. We have no right to be running our mouths off in the presence of a holy God. And it is important to start with the holiness of God, because without understanding the holiness of God, we don't appreciate the grace of God. Well, then you start to see the grace of God in the Old Testament, like Psalm 18, which starts so simply and beautifully. I love you, Lord, my strength. And then David goes on to write, God, you deliver me, you protect me, you save me from my enemies, and you answer from where? From your holy temple. So even though God is in a holy place and separate from us, and we as unholy beasts have no right to make any sort of claim or to say a single word, God hears us and answers us from his temple. This is a sign of grace, but it's grace from somebody who's incredibly powerful, more than we could even fathom. So the grace of God is seen as doubly good, not just because he welcomes us, but because if you consider who he really is, and has the capacity to do all these things, like, it's just incredible, this gift that God gives us. And then later on in the Psalms, this is Psalm 27, the psalmist writes, one thing I ask. And he goes on to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. So now you see, it's not just about asking God for stuff. It's about simply contemplating his glory and to really concentrate on who he is. This does something to our souls that cannot be replicated any other way. And it's not just a process like when you go to the chiropractor and get an adjustment, or go to the dentist and get a filling. There's actually some sort of a connection that happens spiritually because of our intimacy with the Lord through Christ. Look at 1 Chronicles 16:11. Look to the Lord and his strength. Seek his face always. One of the things I said on Sunday was that God just deserves more of our face time. I spend so much time looking at screens, looking at my phone. I'm actually very good at contemplating. I just like to contemplate things that somehow numb me out. Social media, the thing you're watching this on is probably a part of the problem just as much as the solution. So now we go all the way back to 2 Corinthians, and we all who with unveiled faces, meaning that Christ has made it so that we can be united with the Lord again, we contemplate the Lord's glory. We just think about his goodness, and look what happens. We are being transformed into his image, meaning we are becoming like Christ with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord who is the Spirit. And so now you see that as we spend time with Jesus, we become more like him. Ever-increasing glory means we aren't there yet, but we're a little more like Jesus, a little more like Jesus, a little more like Jesus. This idea that it's a process. So I'm just asking you to join me today in contemplating the Lord. And I really want to focus today as I go. I want to have the prayer in my mind just recurring again and again. I love you, Lord, my strength. I love you, Lord, my strength. That's a good one. Join me. Let's do that today and then see how God moves. Expecting nothing, but anticipating that we will draw closer to the Lord. That's RadCast.